having trees available in a space is really an attractive component to encouraging people to gather in those spaces. So we want to make sure that that's true throughout the city of Goshen. One of the things we recognize is the economic value of trees. In Indiana, for example, your property value can be increased by up to 12% just by having some trees in your yard.
Our trees, capturing nearly 20 million gallons of rainwater, allows the city to save $537,000 each year, money that would otherwise have to be spent to treat that water. That money is then available to the city for other projects.
Research shows that when people feel comfortable in a shaded area, they're more likely to spend more time, and that seems kind of obvious, but we see that happening on a regular basis in our downtown district. That's one of the reasons that Goshen works really hard to make sure that there are trees in the downtown, because we want people to come, feel comfortable, spend time, and spend money, of course, in our downtown district. And so having these historic buildings alongside really mature trees, we feel like will create the optimal downtown experience for visitors and for businesses alike.
When there are trees in an economic district like our downtown, people come from further away, they stay longer, and they spend up to 9% more for similar goods than compared to a similar economic district without trees.
And so that investment in our tree landscape ultimately benefits our merchants in the downtown district. There are economic benefits to trees not only in commercial areas but in residential as well. In some obvious ways, trees enhance the aesthetic value of your home and improve the curb appeal of your property. They also provide shelter from the elements, so in the summer you don't have to pay as much for cooling costs if you have a tree providing shade.
I moved into 311 East Douglas in 2000, and there was no trees at all in front of my house. So the first thing I did was I planted a bunch of maple trees. Our energy utility bill decreased because in the summertime we have lots of shade, in the wintertime the leaves fall, and allows a south-facing sun to hit the house and warm it up.
Heating costs in winter can be lowered because of the presence of trees. The calculations that we did looking at our trees show that if you've got 2 or 3 trees in your yard, you're receiving already somewhere between $240 and $260 a year in the benefits that those trees provide.
Our front yard is the coolest place to sit in the entire neighborhood or block. And we actually notice that a lot. My wife thanks me for planting trees.
We really want the city as a whole to be a comfortable gathering place where people enjoy spending time, and we recognize that trees are an essential component of that.
Trees provide places that are desirable for people to come together.
One thing I observe in Goshen is that people are not only invested in trees, but they're actually really passionate about them as well.
I would say that trees affect my spiritual health. There are many times where I need to find a place where I can rest my mind for a bit, and I will go to the Shoe Parsons Woods, and I will be alone, but in a sense I won't be alone because I have so much to see and so much to experience in a place that is full of trees.
In our office environment, you know, there's phones ringing, there's email going back and forth. We're doing a lot of conversations with customers and with each other. I find being able to walk out my back door and into a bunch of trees is just really helps me get back and see the world from another perspective. It just kind of, I breathe in differently when I'm around trees, and I really like that.
I see in trees some of the qualities that I would like most to apply to myself. steadfastness, beauty, grace. When I see a tree that evokes those things, then I'm reminded that those are things that I want to strive for in my own life too.
Trees are amazingly prolific and life-seeking. 2 winters ago, rabbits really decimated these trees. They girdled a lot of them and just about killed them. And so I spent a couple days last fall putting those sleeves around, and I was caring for each little tree. It's just so cool to see that life energy.
As I observe what happens to children when we're in the forest, when we're in contact with trees, that's something that I get to do in the fall and in the spring pretty regularly. We hike down into the woods behind the Reef Center. And so we go into the woods and we begin to look around and we begin to talk about the reality of what we're seeing. And kids, they just kind of calm down and they begin to relax and breathe easier, and they begin to notice things all around them that they haven't necessarily paid attention to before.
One of the great community destinations in Goshen is the Goshen Mill Race, which is a path along the Mill Race Canal. And one of the things that the city's been doing is planting a lot of trees and open areas there, and it's really made it just this gorgeous walking and biking path. And there are hundreds of people that you'll see on the path every day taking advantage of that great resource.
We would rather spend some time in a park than a parking lot. That's why we invest so much in parks in our cities. You can just go down on any sunny day and see that so many people are outside playing, sitting, going and getting some ice cream. Just to be able to see them out and enjoying themselves makes you feel so much better even about your community.
Goshen's doing an excellent job in developing a truly sustainable community forest, and we're fortunate for that.
Anywhere you go, in and around Goshen, in and around northern Indiana, the horizon line is trees. That is direct testament to the fact that where we live is a place that is descended from forests.
I guess the way that I see trees in this ecosystem, and maybe it's because of their size, I feel like they're the bones of this body.
We receive an ecological benefit by calculating the amount of carbon dioxide that our trees soak out of the atmosphere. In an average year, we don't have to spend an equivalent of about $60,000 to remove various pollutants from the air. In a city, in an urban area like Goshen, when it rains onto hard surfaces like roofs and roads, that water, just gets channelized and pours down those surfaces and comes into contact with pollutants of one sort or another.
You would have a great amount of water that is washing through these roads, washing all of the dirt that has some traces of pollution from vehicles, all the way down into the drains, which eventually leads to the Elkhart River.
Our public trees capture almost 20 million gallons of rainwater each year.
They lift out soil pollutants that might affect groundwater, and they lower the amount of these nitrates and phosphates from getting into our river.
Goshen as the Maple City is definitely a core part of how this town perceives itself, its identity. But the dangers in having a town that has over 50% of maples, it makes it really susceptible to diseases.
Goshen's tree population is currently being threatened by the emerald ash borer, which is a pest that specializes and targets all species of ash trees.
With this insect, this ash borer coming in and attacking one certain species, you'll notice quickly how it's going to affect habitat.
The most significant loss has to do with the place that ash trees occupy. And in our forests, they probably represent anywhere from 8 to 10% of the population.
In the next couple of years, I don't believe there'll be much ash around.
we can expect that all of the ash trees in Goshen will die, except for those that we may chemically treat.
If a blight or another insect comes in and attacks another certain species, for example, maple tree, what would happen to the maple city?
The way we work towards preventing and or preparing for such a scenario is to diversify the trees that we plant and that we care for in the city, and slowly over time to bring down the maple population.
Even if we reduce our maple population down to 30%, even 25%, we can still be the maple city, and by doing that, we will have enhanced the health of the overall population of our trees by increasing the diversity.
Goshen, ecologically without trees, would not be what it has been for ages.
The wonderful riparian corridor that runs north and south through town that follows the Elkhart River is just a priceless kind of gem, and that's something that we'll have forever as long as we understand its value.
Trees benefit and enhance Goshen because they provide that aesthetic beauty.
Something that everyone would associate with nature, I would say, and being outside and just the beauty that comes from that.
I don't know, just going into the presence of woods like this one that's behind us, you can get lost. You can ease your woes by going in and just looking and seeing what's out there instead of having the stress of your day-to-day life.
I can go on a bike ride and just be in awe of all the color that is around me. Even on Goshen College's campus, I don't think I would find this place as beautiful in so many ways if it did not have trees.
And I love the fall colors of trees when every tree you look at is a slightly different shade of yellow or orange or red, and just together it's such a beautiful kind of display.
They are these big, beautiful, strong, majestic things.
Realize how resilient and how life-seeking they are. It's really inspirational to me, but I've also really come to appreciate the diversity of trees and the energy that they have for life.
To think futuristically, we got to think about embracing all communities, not just neighborhoods, not just industrial parks, not just economical arenas. We got to think about important arenas that affect our livelihood, our quality of life.
Our hope is that future generations can appreciate all the investment and resources that we're contributing to make our city forest last. So the diversity of our forest and the care that is required, introducing new tree stock and maintaining what we have, is all that will make Goshen continue to really thrive for years to come.
You know, the things that are going on downtown, the revitalization, the trees are an integral part of that. They're part of what makes Goshen, Goshen.